3. I call this meeting officially to order. First item of agenda is a pledge of allegiance. I will ask Commissioner Milov to lead us. Please all rise.
Yeah, thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I will kindly ask that you put your cell phones, your pages, and your pacemakers in the silence mode. We will have the introduction of the commission and the UDOT family next. So let's start from my right. State your name and your jurisdiction, please.
I'm Commissioner Rhonda Menlove, and I represent Region 1, the northern part of the state, and live in Garden City, Utah. Thank you.
Good morning, Jim Evans, also Transportation Commissioner. I live in Orem and I represent Region 3, which goes from Utah County all the way across out to Commissioner Van Tassel, so in all the counties in between. Good to be here with you today.
Morning, Lou Kramer, Commissioner at Large. I live in downtown Salt Lake, and I cannot tell you how proud I am of being responsible to be a cheerleader for all of the great state of Utah. So thanks for all you're doing.
Thank you.
Good morning, Donna Law. I'm a commissioner at large, like Commissioner Lou Kramer. My home is in Cedar City, and it's delightful to be here today.
Commissioner Kevin Van Tassel, I'm an at-large member. I live in Vernal, Utah. It was cold out there this morning. If you hadn't caught the news, it was only -6 this morning when I left. So we're warming up.
And my name is Nagi Zanadi. I'm coming from sunny St. George and warm St. George. And Lisa asked me to bring some sunshine, and I did. Right? At this time, I would like to excuse Commissioner Natalie Gaultner, who has a family commitments, but she sends her love. I would like to also recognize our federal partners, Ivan Marrero and Brigitte Mendel. Welcome and thank you for being here. Now the time to introduce our UDOT family. Carlos, would you please start us?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Commissioner. Carlos Braceras, Executive Director, Utah Department of Transportation.
Lisa Wilson, UDOT Deputy Director for Engineering and Operations.
Robert Stewart, Region 2. Bowman, Region 4 Director. Brett Fine for Region 2. Bob Clayton, Region 3 Director. Anthony Peterson, Region 2. Operations. Bob Billing, SIP Coordinator. Wrestling Region 1 Master. Rob White, Region 1 Director.
Engineer.
Did we get everyone?
Mr. Chairman, I think that's it, but I want to recognize Andrew Gruber,
Yes.
Executive Director of Los Front Regional Council here as well.
Thank you. Wonderful friend. Thank you. Good to see you, my friend. Right at this point, we would like to ask by tradition the Mayor Palmer to come forward and introduce himself, his community, and give the State of the Union address, I guess.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commission. Welcome to Harriman. We appreciate you making the trip today to our beautiful community. I'll introduce a few people with us today from our city. I've got Councilmember Teddy Hodges here as well in the back with me. We've got Blake Thomas, who does a lot. I know works a lot with a lot of you, our Community Development Director. And he's not here with the city, but Andy Powell, who is now the Chair of our Planning Commission, as well as John LaFollette in our communications. So we're grateful to have you here. it's nice to have you out here and give you an up close view of our city. Harriman is a special tight knit community, even though we've seen a lot of growth. We're grateful for UDOT and the critical partnership that you are in our community. We're longtime partners, and as we were talking on the way in, we know that that transportation is a challenge out here, and one of the things that we are in desperate need of. Just a couple quick highlights about Harriman. We've been now a city for 24 years is all. In 1999, we were only a couple thousand people. When I moved here 10 years ago, we were only 20,000 residents. Now we are knocking on the door of 65 to 70,000 residents right now. And at build out, we expect to double that population of build out with 13,000 homes already entitled that have yet to be built. We're grateful for the work that you have done, that you brought to the community, Mountain View Corridor. We were talking with Greg Curtis, how he helped start Mountain View Corridor on the south instead of from the north. So we're appreciative of that. But we're grateful for your help with Mountain View Corridor, especially recently, the challenges with safety and how you've helped us address the wrong way traffic, the high visibility intersections. We're also grateful for the funding that is coming to finish out Mountain View Corridor along as a freeway. We're also grateful for the support with the Mountain View or with the Bangerter interchanges. That has made a tremendous difference in our community as far as east-west connectivity and as well as overall commute time out of our city. We're also grateful for the projects we are currently working on together. The U-111 realignment, which we are currently working on, which will be a huge benefit to those residents on the western edge of our community, and will serve the growth coming through the Olympia Hills development and other growth coming out that way. We're also grateful for your help with the 126 study between Mountain View Corridor and Main Street, which a former Utah County resident, if you know University Parkway, we anticipate that being that busy between just that stretch of road, as busy as University Parkway is currently right now. Again, also grateful for the Mountain View extension into Utah County, which will be critical for our community, as that is going to line up with our commercial areas and a lot of the plans we have on our southeast edge of town. The rapid growth in Harriman will continue. We're, as we've talked, 13,000 entitled but unbuilt homes, and we anticipate 1,000 more homes, as you're probably aware of the recent annexation of Rio Tinto property into South Jordan. There will be a lot of growth coming to that area. And we also look forward to more support on new and improved roads like 126th, 118th, 134th, and Daybreak Parkway. And probably most of the mayors in the communities you visit stand up and say, to help support our growth, we could use any help with transportation, transit, whatever you can do to support us. And again, we're grateful for what you do. I look forward to partnering with you in projects down the road. And again, we welcome you to our community and appreciate you being here. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Let's see, do we have Mayor Staggs also in the audience? Would you please come forward and say your piece?
Hi, I didn't expect to really comment at all. I've never attended one of your commission meetings, and I know you've held it before at our city hall, and I was out of town that week. So when I saw that you were coming out here so close to me, I told Lou I wanted to be able to come out. But thank you. I mean, I just echo everything that Mayor Palmer said. This area has grown so rapidly. Back in 2018, Riverton, Harriman, South Jordan, West Jordan, and Bluffdale actually formulated what we call the Southwest Mayors, or Southwest part of Salt Lake County Mayors Coalition. And we did that really in response to the Olympia Hills development. We realized right away what a huge impact that was going to create in this part of our valley. And we have those 5 cities have accounted for over 75% of the population growth in this Salt Lake County since 2000. And we have over half the undeveloped property left. And so clearly there's a lot of growth still to be had, as Mayor Palmer just indicated. But we thank you. Thank you for funding the Bangerter interchanges. I know we've worked successfully as a Southwest Mayors group and as other elected officials throughout here to really shine a light on the need. We felt like we were several years behind, frankly, given the growth. And Governor Cox has indicated that where infrastructure precedes growth, the quality of life is maintained, but where it falls behind, then it definitely is impacted. And so we appreciate the efforts that you've undertaken. 126th in Bangor was just, recently completed last year. We have 134th and 27th West. We have 4 Bangor interchanges that go through Riverton City. And so those are slated to be, to start here now. We appreciate that. And 126 South, west of Bangor, is city owned. And so 126 Bangor, just past Mountain View, there is in our border, and we own that, Riverton City. And then further west is Harriman. And I know that we have talked with our state legislators and lobbyists to try to get UDOT then to take that on. We think it makes sense to have that road completely owned by the state and maintained, given it's such a major arterial. So again, thank you for all that you do here, and appreciate being here today.
Thank you, Mayor, for your service. Okay. Right, at this point, I would like to also take a time on behalf of the commission to congratulate Rob Clayton for receiving the inaugural Impact Award from Vineyard City Mayor, Mayor Fulmer. Thank you, and thank your team, Region 3. What a fabulous award to receive. One thing that just really impressed me that Mayor mentioned that UDOT and especially Region 3 are listening. What a novelty for the agency throughout the world. So thank you, Rob. Thank you for your team. And of course, congratulations to all of you, not just one region, all of you. In my book, in our books, you are our heroes. Thank you. My next counsel to gentlemen of the House, in case you haven't got the memo, next week, there's a special day. And it is the one that you have to really, really appreciate your spouses, your best friends, and so I'm just giving the heads up. And the ladies of the house, few of us are gonna forget that day, then the item and whatever we're gonna do, but forgiveness is the greatest gift you can give back to us. You can forgive, but you don't have to forget. Keep that one chip handy whenever you want to use it. So please be mindful of that particular day.
Mr. Chair, you're talking about the NBA All-Star Game?
No.
What are you talking? Just kidding.
That plus the Super Bowl
Okay.
is for the men.
We
You can
get it.
do
Just
whatever you
kidding.
want to do, but
Just-
after that,
Just kidding.
so. Now let's proceed with the next item of agenda, number 2, local area presentation, which is gonna be Brad Palmer and Grant Farnsworth.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the time to present some of our projects here at Region 2. We'd like to welcome everybody to Salt Lake County. Just a few facts about the county itself. It's got 18 cities in it, 5 townships. It's about 800 square miles, but it's got about 40% of the population of Utah here, 1.2 million. And Region 2 maintains 3 interstates and 26 state routes. So there's a lot that we could talk about here if we had all day to do it. But I was told to keep this somewhat brief. So we're only going to hit on 3 projects. And today's a little unique because we're also going to do our tour later today, and we'll expand on this quite a bit. We'll see a lot of things that's happening in Region 2 as we go on that tour. But the 3 main projects I wanted to highlight with the commission today is our 56 West Railroad Crossing project. This one recently completed. And then the last 2, SR 68, which is Redwood Road. We have a project that was just awarded. It goes from 6200 South to I-215. And our SR 209, which is 90th South. This goes from Redwood Road to 7th West. And this one's in advertising right now. These 3 projects alone are worth about $155 million. And there's one common theme that I wanted to present today, and it's digital delivery. Each one of these projects has a unique digital delivery aspect to it that I wanted to update the commission on. So just a little bit about our 56 West project. We've shown the commission this one in the past, but we're taking a 2-lane road. We widened it to 5 lanes. It's got a lot of heavy truck traffic in this area. And there's a UPR railroad that crosses right through the middle of this that frequently would have 30-minute delays because the trains were so long. And so we did a grade separation at that location. The project alone was $83 million. It completed last fall. And just to show you a quick picture of the finished product here on the left, but I wanted to show you a rendering animation video on the right, and it'll take a look at the picture and the finished product compared to this animation video. This is one of the products of our digital delivery efforts here. So this is the railroad bridge that crosses the UPR lines. From our designs, we were able to create this rendering. We used it to coordinate with the railroad, with other third-party utility companies, with the public in our public meetings. We deliver this information to the contractor if they want to use it. But just to show it one more time compared to that picture, I think we got pretty close with our digital delivery efforts here compared to what the final product ended up being.
That is a huge improvement, and congratulations.
Thank you. Next project is our Redwood Road from 6200 South to I-215. The reason I wanted to bring this one up, we're actually going to see it a little bit later. We need just a little bit more money for this one that we're going to present to the commission. But this area of Redwood Road experiences traffic that sometimes exceeds Bangerter Highway, certain portions of Bangerter Highway. We have about 80,000 vehicles that pass through this area every day. So when we were looking at this, it's highly congested during our peak periods. And so we put together a project to add an additional northbound lane from 6200 South up to I-215. And there's 2 on-ramps to 215 at this location. One goes west on this loop ramp right here. And then another one goes east, just this little slip ramp. We're going to add dual lanes on both of those ramps as part of the project too, just so we can push traffic from 6200 as efficiently as possible. But our digital delivery efforts here on the right, this is a rendering of a 3D model that our designers put together. This has been around for several years. We've been doing this for quite some time, but it helps us understand if our model is accurate, if we're missing any gaps in our model before we put it on paper plans. But what I really wanted to show is the one on the left here. This is a screenshot of the information that we've downloaded into a geographic information system, GIS. And what this allows us to do is we can click on any element of our design and attach metadata to it. So this one that we clicked on, it's a new telephone line that we're installing as part of the project. We have the owner name in here, the size of the utility that's going in. We can deliver this to the contractors. They know exactly what's going on with these utilities, but we also use it in our coordination with the third-party utilities so they understand where their line is going to go. They can give us feedback if that does or does not work for them. And it also helps our inspection crews so that they can have this information right on their phone, click on it, and make sure that everything's being installed properly. Then our last project is 90th South from Redwood Road to 7th West. If you remember, this project was actually delayed a couple of years because we needed the money to award the Bangerter 3. So we're finally getting this one out the door. It's in advertisement right now, and it'll be under construction this summer. We're going to widen the roadway from 5 lanes to 7 lanes. We're also going to reconstruct the bridge that goes over the Jordan River, and we're going to add bike lanes from Redwood Road over to 7th West. And that'll connect right into the Jordan River Trail system. So this will be a really nice project for this area to help all users of the system. Here we have a screenshot, back to our digital delivery theme, we have a screenshot of the bridge that's going to go over the Jordan River. And we've got everything from the piles being driven down into the ground all the way up to the superstructure. You can see the detail in the girders, the parapets, the wing walls. Here are, if I was brave enough and wanted to do this as a live demo, we'd be able to rotate this and zoom in on it and take a look at everything. But I was worried it wouldn't work very well in a presentation format. But again, we can deliver this information to the contractor. They can upload it into their equipment and their models and use this as they construct the project. And then this one's a little jumbled. This is what we deal with in our underground utilities. So what we're looking at here on the top, we're looking down on the roadway. This is the third lane that we're installing. And then we've got all the utilities underneath it with catch basins, and here's a curb return right here. But what this allows us to do is it helps us understand what existing utilities are in the ground, how we're going to put the new utilities in there while the existing utilities are still in service, how we can coordinate all that construction sequencing. It also allows us to see where we've got conflict points. And if you look on the bottom piece here, I wanted to point out this orange box right here. We've got a blue line coming in, which is a culinary water line, and a purple line, which is our irrigation line coming into the same location. This is a great example of us catching a conflict before we ever deliver this to the contractor so that we can get this fixed in design, where in the past, you just put lines on a paper, you do your best to try to get the elevations right, but sometimes things like this get missed. And then we're dealing with a change order in the field. So those were the three projects. I'm happy to take any questions on those, but just one last slide before I end here. These are the upcoming major projects that Salt Lake County has coming to the area that the commission has already approved for funding. We've got 8 of them in the works, and you can see that they're scattered all through the valley for a combined project value of just under $2.3 billion. We've got a lot of work here. We're very appreciative for this work, and it's an exciting time for Region 2 and dealing with a lot of the traffic and growth that we've got in the area. So with that, I'm gonna, unless there's any questions, I'll turn the time over to Grant Farnsworth to talk a little bit more about the Southwest Quadrant.
I don't have any question, just envy of this technology.
Yeah.
As engineer that I am, I just like, where was I, or where were they when I was trying to go to school and learn all this technology? Amazing.
It's a lot of fun to play with, I'll tell you
Amazing.
that.
A lot of things to juggle. Rob looks very relaxed over there, so he must have a lot of great support.
He does look relaxed.
We encourage all the mayors and the county commissioners, city managers, public work directors to take these presentations, the videos, to your communities and share it at the public hearing meetings you have or any kind of gathering. So let the public know that UDOT and UDOT Commission is busy delivering. And these wonderful folks of the engineers, the technology that they have in their hands. So please use this technology and use these presentations in your communities. Thank you. Grant, you can top that?
I'm not, but maybe I'll top it in being shorter. That's the only thing I'll
Okay.
top it in being. And so I thank you for the opportunity to come and talk. I'm going to be focusing on just the Southwest Salt Lake County area, the 5 cities that you see. Brad talked about all of the county, and I'll be focusing first on the growth and then just give you an idea of all the studies that have been looked at recently and are in progress. So that yellow star is where we are in Harriman City. And if you've heard of Olympia Hills, it's a little bit further west, but I wanted to just give you a snapshot of looking back 10 years and to last year. This is something that we see in many areas, high growth areas in Utah, but it's always kind of fun to see, if you go Google Earth 10 years ago and kind of see it, you can, first of all, it looks a lot drier than it did 10 years ago, but you can see a lot of growth in those areas of commercial and residential area, but also there's still vacant land to the west with additional Daybreak, Olympia Hills, Rio Tinto land that has yet to be filled in. So more growth to come, as the mayor's talked about. Also interesting to look at the population growth from 2010 to 2020 was 90,000, and 2/3 of that was in Harriman City and also in South Jordan. So high growth areas. And then working with Wasatch Front Regional Council, so every 4 years, They're updating their doing a major overhaul to the regional transportation plan. And in that process, they work with the local cities and large landowners and other agencies to understand what the job and employment growth forecasts are looking like for their area. They work with the Gardner Policy Institute. And so working with them, they've had these forecasts for 2050 from where we are. And so you can see a good deal additional amount of people coming to this area. As the mayor's talked about, 150,000 people and over 85,000 jobs. And that might seem like a lot of jobs coming to this area, but even with that job, the job to household ratio for this area is still about half of what you'd find for the greater Salt Lake County area, meaning this is more of a bedroom community. And consequently, that causes regional trips, a lot more reliance on regional trips to access employment opportunities. So as we've looked at what this growth will mean to the transportation system, we've had a lot of studies that we've undertaken that we're in the process of doing. And we're also working with our partners, looking at east-west corridors, north-south corridors, and also looking at different modes of transportation to be able to accommodate this growth and help them get to where they need to go in a smooth and seamless fashion. Preparing for that growth with that. That's all I wanted to share with you guys in case there's any other questions. Thank you for your time.
Questions from Grant? Good job. Thank you. At this point, we would like to have a public comments. Anyone in this audience, please, Andrew, come forward, and then we will also open up to the online community.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, UDOT friends and family. I'm Andrew Gruber. I'm Executive Director of the Wasatch Front Regional Council. And I could in a way say welcome to our region, but our region represents the majority of the population of the state. So I'll just say it's good to be here with you in Harriman in Southwest Salt Lake County. I do want to say that one of the other neighboring cities to Harriman in this region is South Jordan. And Mayor Dawn Ramsey of South Jordan is the current chair of the Wasatch Front Regional Council. She is out of town today, but she wanted me to express her welcome to you as well and her appreciation for all the great work that UDOT and the UDOT family has done in Southwest Salt Lake County. So from our chair, Dawn Ramsey, to you, thank you. I'm really glad that Grant talked a little bit about planning. You all as a commission tend to focus a lot on projects, which you should. But of course, the planning precedes those projects. And it's by working together with the cities and the counties and thinking about the land use and the interplay with transportation that we develop the right projects to do to put the taxpayer dollars to the best use. And so I want to just take a brief moment to recognize the planning team. Obviously, it starts with Terry in her role, but then Ben and Andrea and Grant and Stephanie and Angelo and so many of the other folks that we get just the wonderful opportunity to partner with. That collaboration is terrific. And so the planning team at UDOT is really, really wonderful to work with. I just want to say one more thing, and that is we're all aware that on the other side of the Salt Lake Valley, there's something else going on today, and that is, of course, the legislative session. And one of the things that we are so excited about is the governor's proposal developed in collaboration with UDOT and Carlos and the team for the Utah Trail Network. This is a game changer for the future of the state of Utah. To have active transportation, the term that we use, paved trails that people can use to get around their communities and to connect communities. I think that when we look back on this 5, 10, 20 years from now, we will see this as a fork in the road kind of moment where we made the right decision for our air quality, for our public health, for our mobility, and overall for our quality of life. In support of that Utah Trail Network, we've worked with partners all over the state, and now over 400 public and private and community leaders and organizations have signed a support letter saying, we value this for the future. That letter is going to be delivered early next week to all of the members of the legislature, and it will also urge the adoption of the passage and adoption of Senate Bill 185. Senator Wayne Harper has taken up the mantle on this Utah Trail Network to set up the Active Transportation Investment Fund and chart the course forward. So we're so excited to be partnering on this. It's a big, big deal for UDOT to be leading on this We said this yesterday, Carlos, when Carlos and I testified together in favor of this bill in committee, that the Utah Department of Transportation, not of roads, but of transportation, roads and transit and trails, that balanced system of transportation that is so critical to our future. So let's go get it done. And thank you very much for all the great work and partnership.
Thank you, Andrew. Any other comments?
I just have to say how wonderful it is to have that kind of low-key, non-enthusiastic Andrew Gruber working. with. It is a jewel. One of the greatest imports to Utah since Karl Malone.
Yeah,
Great job.
even better.
And his lovely wife on top of that as well.
Any other comments? Don't be shy. What about from the online communities? Anyone? Seeing none, I'm moving to the next item of agenda, which is the Federal Highway Administration report, and our friend Ivan Marrero will have that discussion.
I'll see if I can match Andrew's level of.
Enthusiasm.
Hard.
But you bring the money. You bring the money.
Thank you, Heather. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. I'm Ivan Marrero, Federal Highway Administrator for the Utah Division here in Salt Lake City. And thank you again for giving me a few minutes to bring to your attention some items from the federal side. Let me get going here. Okay, so this one, it's a little dated, but back in December 21st, the Secretary announced the recipients of the Rural Surface Transportation Grant Program, and the IBAPA Road Safety Rehabilitation Project received $6 million. And this is a very, very, very needed project, I think, because I know that they've been trying for a long time to get money to get some repairs done out there. This is a road that serves the reservation, the Goshutes Reservation, and the tribal members, as well as other residents of that area. And so the money will go towards repaving the road, upgrading siding and guardrails and other safety improvements. So it will. I think the plan is to do 35 miles of that road, and while $6 million is only a part of, I think they need $25 million total for that project. They can continue to apply for more grants, or if there are any other federal funds to contribute, that can also help towards that project. I understand there's some money in the governor's budget for this project. Hopefully they'll get through and they'll be able to get this project going. But for now, $6 million is available. There were a total of 12 projects selected, so it's a very limited number of projects that were selected. So that's good reflection on their application and their need. And overall, nationwide, we awarded $274 million. So let me see. The second one is another grant that was announced, the awards recently. So the Safe Streets for All, this grant, there's actually two types of grants. You have a grant to create an safety action plan, and then there's another grant that can be applied for actually implementing those projects. So these grants that were announced for Utah were all the action plan grants. And as you can see there, Cedar City Corporation, the City of Green River received grants. Also, as well as the MPOs, each received between $300,000 and $1 million for developing. Basically, this money will be used to develop safety action plans. And then once those plans are developed, they can apply for projects to actually build those safety projects. So let me see. And just as soon as we're talking about funds, grants, I mean, this is sort of the schedule of the next notice of funding opportunities for the grants. So just to give you a feel for what's coming our way, these are the ones that are more transportation related or federal highway related grants. So we will have the race grants, the charging and fuel infrastructure grant coming out. Some should be out fairly soon. When it says winter of 2023, I think we're talking about this time period. So as you can see, the springtime will be a busy time for us with a lot of grant opportunities for those interested in applying. So I encourage anybody interested, listening, who's interested in applying for these grants to click on these links. They're all links people can go to and find more about these grants. And our office is also available to provide any clarification and help assistance with these grants. And I also have this slide here in all my presentations. This is anybody interested in these grants can go to this site and they will be able to access all the information they need to learn more about it. We did have earlier we presented the apportionments for 2023. So we're kind of stuck in the fish pond. And so now that we have an Appropriations Act, we have been granted our fish limit, which is it's covered. So it's a little less than 469 million. Let me click on that. Oh, let me hold on a second. Let me see if I can. Heather, can you hide the bottom thing, the little banner? Because I can see the number. I can't see it. I think it's like $403 million. Okay, so the obligation limitation or fishing limit for the years has been set at 403 million. And along that way, we also, one additional apportionment that came in was the bridge replacement and rehabilitation program. That's $8.4 million. So that's kind of what the funding situation is looking like right now for Utah from the federal side. Okay, now I'm sorry, I'm clicking on the wrong. Am I clicking the wrong button now? I'm moving. Let me see. Oh, there we go. Just real quick, we have one of the things we do on the federal highway side. We have this fund that we call the technology transfer funds that we can utilize to transfer technology. So states can apply, or our division office can apply for that, and for these funds. And so we received two. The prior presentation on all that technology that allows us to show in our plans, electronic plans, all those details, underground, above ground, and even the overheads. Those were probably not invented here in Utah. It was probably some other state somewhere. But one of the things we do in federal highways, once we learn about a good thing, we try to spread the word. And we've used UDOT as an example many times to spread the word of the good things we're doing here. So I'm sure that that program and what was presented earlier, that technology, we've used some of these funds to help educate other state DOTs on that. And it's becoming more and more common throughout the nation. So a couple of things that we'll be using this fund for this year. We're doing a peer exchange with unconnected vehicles. So I believe they're coming here to learn about what we're doing on connected vehicles. We do have, so we're gonna bring some other people from other state DOTs over to you to learn about that, and we can learn from what they're doing. And also the second one there, the Bill Grant Recipient Peer Exchange. We've with the Bill Act, there's going to be a lot of agencies receiving federal funds that may have not received federal funds before, so they're not going to be very familiar. So one of the responsibilities that we'll have is to make sure that these agencies are informed and capable of delivering those federal programs. So we want to learn. There's other states out there that are more familiar with this. They have had more. We use the term direct recipients, and they're more experienced in assisting them and overseeing them. So we are inviting them to come. I don't know if we're going over there or are they coming over here, but somehow we're going to be getting together with them to learn about what they're doing so we can do the best we can here in Utah to help those agencies once they receive those federal funds. So a little bit of money, but it does go a long way. And just a couple of things real quick to finish up with. Like that's zero fatality goals. US DOT and federal highways have equal goals. So as part of our national road safety strategy, we're issuing this request for information. We wanna learn what are the things that we can do on the federal highway side to help to contribute lowering fatalities. So we went out with this request for information and trying to find out what are the standards or regulations that need to be looked at to improve the way they contribute to our safety, and looked at how our federal aid projects are performing from a safety standpoint, and also and talked about safety performance across all federal aid projects. So we want to get feedback from the public and from the state DOTs about what are the things we can do to continue to improve safety throughout on our federal aid projects. So whatever feedback we get, we'll take it into account, and then either consider issuing rulemaking or guidance to contribute towards that goal. And that little thing there you can scan, I guess, if you're interested in going there and providing us that feedback. So I hope people will take advantage of that and give us whatever feedback they have.
Mr. Chairman, may I just ask, are we Utah rated on a national basis on highway safety overall? Is there a standard for that?
A standard for highway safety? No,
I just wanted an overall chart because, we work so hard at it.
Well, NHTSA,
I'm just
Chairman,
curious.
If I could help my friend here. I think probably the standard that people look at is fatalities per 100 million miles.
Right.
And the national goal has been to get to 1.0 for years.
Mhm.
Utah's been under 1. We got pretty close, but that I think is probably the only way that I would.
Yeah, the National Highway Transportation Safety Board produces quarterly reports where they show where all the states are in those pretty much any safety related data point they will have, similar to what UDOT normally presents
Every month, right?
And for the most part, I think UDOT is always very low in all those areas.
Low in fatalities and high in doing well.
Doing well, doing well.
Yeah.
I think there's a couple of them. I'm trying to remember now that has to do with it. I think the vulnerable users. That's one area where I think we were above we were above a mark that was set nationwide by the bill, and what the requirement there then would be that you put more money towards vulnerable road user death and accident prevention.
Good. Thanks for that.
The second one, safety related. This is the states and the MPOs are required to spend 2.5% of their state planning and research funds and metropolitan planning funds on complete street planning activities. So one of the things, but sometimes local agencies have a tough time matching that, coming up with a 20% match. So that sort of has, in a way to encourage them and allow them to advance this program, this complete streets program, which should also contribute towards safety. The secretary has determined that there is a benefit to that, so the secretary has waived the 20% match for those. So for the funds that can be used towards complete street planning activities. So that's great news for some jurisdictions that may not have their own the funds to be able to match the 20%. So that was just announced back in a couple of weeks ago. And just to finish up, I know I'm sounding like a broken record here, but like I said, we do track how funds are spent and put to use, and this inactive obligation number kind of basically it's a measure of any project that has been obligated but they haven't had any expenditure for 12 months. So basically, it's just been sitting there without expenditure. So for the forever, I think that for as long as I've been reporting this has been a 0%. And they're one of 5 states that for this quarter are also at 0%, and their 4-quarter average is 0%. So again, a great indication that the money's just not sitting around here. It is obligated and then put to use and spent very quickly, and it hasn't been showing up in our screen here. So it's just want to give you that kudos for that, for excellent work. And I'll be back in 3 months to say the same thing probably.
Mr. Chairman, I mean, he's thanking UDOT, and a lot of work goes into that, but it's the work of the commission to that when you deobligate the monies from projects and then reobligate it. It's the work that you do that helps us do this.
Yeah, it's a team effort on all this, and it is done at an amazing rate here. So and it's reflected by these scores. So thank you again. And that's all I have for you this morning. So I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Question from Ivan? Good job as usual.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you, Heather.
That
Fish
yeah,
coming.
fish truck looks good. Item number 5, new agenda is UDOT scoreboard, and Charles, Lisa delegated to you, huh?
I've learned a few things since I've been here, and one of them is always listen to Lisa.
She's a good teacher.
Did I steer from here? Okay. So we're on our UDOT strategic direction page. I'm going to scroll down to project delivery. Wait for it to load. You'll see in a moment that we have 6 projects past due, 68 to be advertised within the next 60 days, 226 that are planned more than 60 days out, 512 other projects. Those tend to be simpler projects that aren't quite as complicated to advertise or can go straight to a direct contracting method under the procurement code. Our goal with advertising is to have more than 85% meet advertising deadlines, and we are above that at 89% currently. I'm going to skip the cost estimates and come back to that in a moment, because I think this chart tells you a lot about where things are. I think one thing you'll notice that has changed from last time, there were a few bright red spots in the past. Those are now yellow and out the door and have been advertised. This shows you where the 6 projects are, where they were planned to be advertised. I will tell you, from what I understand, a couple of these are held up due to some challenges we've encountered working through right-of-way issues with the Navajo Nation. Dealing with a sovereign nation is more complicated than traditional right-of-way, and we're on it. We're going to go retain an expert in Navajo Nation law to help us work through those issues. And then a couple of others are, the pains of bringing on a new consultant who takes a little more time to learn our process. It's a strategic investment, though, right? You want more consultants available. You've got to bring them up to speed on our processes, and so it's a worthy endeavor. And then one of the more interesting ones that I learned about is a curious bridge design, and they held off on putting it out to bid because they wanted to make sure they put it out correctly given the unique nature of the bridge. Please don't ask me any questions about that, because that is as deep into bridge design as I ever hope to go. Back to the cost estimates. This covers advertisements over the month of January. You can see that the cost estimates are a little off, but that's to be expected. They're about a hair under 4% off. You'd always rather be a little over on your estimate than a little under, because then you have to come back to the commission and ask for more money. I have broken the chart. I apologize. This shows project counts and construction contracts. I'm not sure if you have any questions about this. It shows a pretty consistent, steady amount of work. Contractor payments. We're used to a regular bell curve looking flow here. I understand that between some inflation issues and supply chain issues, some of our work has been disrupted here and there, and that affects payments. So you'll notice here in November and back earlier in March, there were a few of them that look a little off, but that's primarily driven by supply chain challenges that we work hard to overcome. And then finally, this is showing contract award versus estimates on a cumulative basis. You will see that we are overestimating, likely driven by concerns about inflation and maybe lagging behind just a little bit in how inflation has adjusted over time. But as you'll recall, in last month, we were off only by a hair, so it looks like they're on a good trend and they're getting that back. The engineers are studying the economics and getting a good handle on it. That'll turn it over to Troy unless there are questions.
Question from Charles? Thank you. Oh, Troy Peterson will follow Charles.
Good morning, commissioners, and thank you, Mr. Chair. We'll take a moment here and give you an update on our strategic direction for zero fatalities. Okay. Zero fatalities, there we go. Couple things I want to point out on this graph right here, and we talked a little bit about just a minute ago about fatality rate. Our fatality rate here in Utah, we're currently sitting at 0.93 for calendar year 2022. It was down a little bit from the prior year. Our highest in a while, we had 0.98. And Carlos mentioned that the goal was to be under 1. Nationally, that average as of last, I guess the last update they had on that was we were showing as a nation at 1.47. So we're lower than the national average. But as I'm going to point out here in a few minutes, that it's nothing for us to be overly celebratory, because we do have a fair number of individuals that lost their lives on our roadways. And so last thing I want to point on this graph here is our VMT. You'll notice here on the right, 34 billion of VMT for our state, which is the highest it's ever been. I only anticipate that to go up for foreseeable future.
Troy, did you say it was 1.47 was the national?
Correct.
Did I hear that right?
Yes.
Yikes. It's a lot higher than.
I just wanted to get an update on the traffic fatalities for 2020 or 2022. Sorry. We ended this last year with 320 individuals that had lost their lives. Our reduction would have been 278 if we would have 2.5% of over a 3-year average for what the target would have been for a reduction. We did not meet that goal for at least the last 3 years, you can see from this graph. One thing I want to point out for this year and in 2023 so far, we are sitting at 25 fatalities on the year. Let me step back just a second. For that 320 fatality, I missed a section I usually cover, and that's our vulnerable users. I classify vulnerable users as pedestrians, bicyclists, and motorcyclists. And we had 54 pedestrians, 15 bicyclists, and 50 motorcyclists that had lost their life this last year, which is, of the 320, that was about 37% of our fatalities were in that vulnerable user category. Just to maybe echo something that was mentioned from Ivan on the vulnerable users, a target they're shooting for pedestrians and bicyclists is under 15%. I think ours is 21 when you put those numbers together for that line across of meeting a target for vulnerable users. So we are above the mark. We've got a commitment to spend more money. Yes.
Yes, please.
That's a good question. Troy, as you share that statistic, as the reports are done, I assume sometimes the motorist is at fault, sometimes the cyclist is at fault. Is there a way to measure that? Like, is the cyclist in the wrong? I know we're trying to help them be safe by creating places for them to ride safely.
I believe within the crash form that's filled out by law enforcement, they do their best to identify who's at fault. Do I have that statistic with me? I do not. I'm
No,
not sure.
but
if
you
we-
have weather
we
when
don't.
I need you.
We
So
don't- we
I'm
don't
grateful
keep
for
that.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, I was just curious.
Like I mentioned, 2023, we're at 25 fatalities on the year. Of those in the vulnerable category, we have 7 pedestrians that have lost their life. Let me scroll down to the next graph. Suspected and serious traffic injuries. You can see the same trend as fatalities. Our suspected serious traffic injuries are up, as well as our total number of crashes. There was a dip in 2020 that we didn't have as many, that we saw a fewer number of crashes than our target of reduction. So definitely in the wrong, above the line is not a good thing for us as a state, and we're working really hard to get those numbers down. Typically at this time in my presentation, I take a moment to remind everyone of the 5 safety behaviors. I was asked to maybe we could find a way to make that maybe a little more memorable in light of the number of fatalities we have. Commissioner Evans has asked that I turn some time over to him.
Troy, I'm gonna have you come up here with me. We're gonna do it from up
Okay.
here.
I can do.
You know, this is for quite a while. We hear these and the public hears, and sometimes we hear things and see things, and it kind of goes one ear and out the other. And I know that Governor Cox and Carlos are very concerned about this, and so Troy and I went to them and asked if we could do just like the flag and commission a song that deals with this to get people to think about this. And you'll be able to download this song. This is a world premiere today on any streaming. Okay, we didn't commission it by Carlos and the governor, and you can't stream, but we're going to do the song for you anyway. So Troy, if you'll come right here by me. Oh, yes. So Troy's always beating this drum, but I think he needs a different drum. I'm giving him a cowbell today. Okay. Perfect. See, Troy, if we can do this one time only here. We'll see how this works here. Okay, I think we can hear it with the mic here and everything. I'll sing. This is called Troy's safety song. Before you head out on the highway to school or to the school, you can follow Troy's safe driving habits by following these simple rules. Ready? Let's keep buckling up for safety by keeping your seatbelt snug. Drive alert and avoid distractions like the plague or a nasty flu bug. Keep focused when behind the wheel on the driving task at hand. And don't be messing with your music, trying to find your favorite band. Remain calm when you're confronted with the challenge on the road. Take a deep breath, smile, be happy, lest you turn into a toad. Never ingest or drink anything that will impair you on the road. For we want you to be safe behind the wheel and grow up to be very old. More cowbell, Troy. So before you head out on the highway to the store, to the school, remember to follow Troy's safe driving habits if you want to be considered cool. Buckle up for safety, buckle up for safety, always buckle up. Keep your seatbelt snug, give an extra tug, buckle up for safety with your seatbelt, buckle up. Don't even check streaming for that, it won't be there. Huge. Thanks, Troy, for being a good sport.
Oh, well done. Thank you.
A PSA, yeah. Okay, so I know that I'm coming up for reappointment. I might not be here next year, but thanks, Carlos. Sorry.
But your song will be.
The song will be,
We have to explain things a little bit more.
okay, thank you. Thanks, Troy.
I'd just like to thank Commissioner Evans for the help there, and hopefully that'll make us a little more valuable. message and remembering those important safety reminders as we head out on the road. But if that concludes my answers. Any questions?
Well, apparently there's a talent base in UDOT and the commission. Thank you.
Thank you.
Troy.
Thanks, Troy. Well, I wear my UDOT lanyard that says, "Don't drive stupid," and I remember that. a
That's
lot.
good.
Yes, indeed.
You know, and we can't just be UDOT working on this or UHP. Everybody, has got to be singing the song.
And now
So-
we have one.
And we
Yeah.
have-
Yeah, we
Now we have a song to sing.
So make sure that is patented though. We don't want to have. Let's see, the item number 6, grant updates and Professor Fun is have the more fun.
Yeah, I think there's a new.
We'll work on one for grants next time. Okay, just kidding.
There's a limit here.
Thank you, commissioners. Good morning.
More cowbells.
So I have a grant update item today. So we have our grant tracking sheet that I'll go over. Most of the grants on this sheet are in the status of submitted and waiting to hear back on, many of which we've talked about before. So I'll briefly go through those. And then there's a few that have some updated status on them. So on our sheet, the first grant at the very top is a utility detection grant in the Accelerated Innovation Deployment Grant. This is, I think Brad gave the best presentation about what this type of grant is for. Some of the stuff that he talked about are for modeling and detecting utilities. That's the way things are going forward to make it that more efficient and be able to avoid those utility conflicts. The next 5 grants on this list we've talked about before, but those are in the National Scenic Byways Program. Those are submitted applications for different areas around the state relating to byways and some improvements and plan updates. Those have been on there for a while, so hopefully we're going to hear soon. The next one on the list, this one is the I-15 South Iron County Freight Mobility and Safety Project. So it includes the South Cedar Interchange. This is the grant that UDOT submitted for. There was 3 grant programs bundled into one, and we just did hear back on the last of the 3, and this project was not selected this round for that. So,
Darn it.
yeah. So we are looking forward to the debrief on that and to hear what any feedback we can gain from that. I know that there is an environmental process that has been started, so that'll help inform next steps on that one. So we'll continue to coordinate and update on next steps and what the path forward for that project is. The next grant on the list is related to broadband and the Middle Mile Grant Program. This one is being handled by Lynn Yoakum in UDOT's team. This is a grant for fiber in Middle Mile fiber. UDOT has been doing this in different capacities for a while. This is a grant program related to providing those connections and utilizing some of our ability to use right-of-way and things like that to make those connections. And yeah, everything that we've talked about so far is in the UDOT submitted stage. I don't have it, I'd have to be scrolling back and forth, but those are in the UDOT submitted stage other than the South Cedar Interchange project, and that one is, we've heard back. The next grant on the list is a bundle of I-80 bridge rehab projects. This is part of the Bridge Investment Program grant program, and we have already received a planning grant out of a separate category of that program. But this is another one that UDOT put together and submitted for a bundle of bridges in that I-80 area near the airport and Bangalore Highway for rehabilitation. The next grant on the list is the Reconnecting Communities Grant, and this is a grant in the St. George area, I-15, 900 South and or 400 East crossings to be able to provide crossings under I-15 in the area that we have a future project. And so that grant was in coordination with St. George City.
And then we have a consolidated rail grant for the Provo sub-rail consolidation. This one had some legislated money for match on it. And this is a project to do some rail consolidation that in that Spanish Fork area that would remove, I believe it's up to 8 crossings, existing crossings, if they're able to consolidate that rail and get rid of some rail roadway crossing locations.
Ben,
Yes.
is that the one that's just where that eventual interchange will be in north of the hospital there kind of? Is that kind of what that's covering, all those, I think, all those tracks that are there?
Let's see if this fact sheet, oh, it doesn't have the
I mean,
location on
I
it.
think that's where you have all those tracks. I'm assuming that's where that is.
Let me pull up one more thing, and if not, then I can phone a friend on that one. Oh, I can't. So just.
That's okay. I think that, Rob, is that correct? That's where that is. This is to help deal with where all those tracks, so we want to eliminate some right there by that, where that new interchange will be. Okay. Yeah, we're good. I just want to make sure that's what that one was.
And then we have a few newer grant programs, or possibly, I know that this one used to have a different name, but this is another one where you've seen some, I believe in Ivan Marrero's presentation about some peer exchanges on connected vehicles. So there's some themes going on where technology is going, but this Attain grant program, our operations group is leading an effort for this grant pursuit for connected vehicles, where the vehicles communicate with signals and other things. And I believe that is the same with the SMART grant that is below it. They're very similar, 2 different grant programs, but the same general effort that those are working towards advancing. And then circling back to some of the stuff that Brad Plummer talked about, this SMART grant application here for digital twin technology is along those lines of digital delivery with the digital modeling, and then, you know, things like the utility conflicts that you're able to model and work within a digital world before you get out in the field. This second to last grant on the list here is in the RAISE grant program. It's one of the larger grant programs. And this project, this is under application. The status of this one is UDOT is under application. The submission is the end of this month. And it is for a first last mile project. So active transportation, walking and biking connections to transit facilities. This is a continuation on a previous effort that UTA had taken on. I believe when this grant program was called Tiger, they had bundled a big group of projects that advanced this first mile, last mile initiative. And this is kind of a continuation on that, to bundle another group of projects and look to make those connections. You know, we have the TTIF program for this first last mile. So this is kind of complementary to that and would be along the same lines if this were to be awarded. And then the last grant placeholder on this list is for a wildlife crossings pilot program grant. And that is, there's some legislated match money that is waiting for that one to come out. I believe the last we heard, it's sometime possibly in the middle of 2023. And that reminds me, I know that I'm going to just scroll back up just a little bit. The Reconnecting Communities grant, the one that Region 4 in St. George City, I did hear that they're expecting to announce those awards within the next couple of weeks. So in one of the webinars that has happened recently. So I know that there was some other grants that Ivan Marrero mentioned. The grants that are typically on this list are the one that have some sort of potential commission action related to them, but Ivan did a great job of highlighting some of the other grants that have been awarded to Utah. The Ibapaw Road grant, there potentially is some, depending on what happens with the legislative session and some other federal money that potentially goes to that one. We may be talking more about that one at some point in the future. But then he did mention some of the other grants that have come to Utah, the Safe Streets for All. Those are local eligible entities. And so there has been some of those. So I just like to actually, to speak to some of those ones that Utah does get that maybe are not on the commission list. So thank you. Any other questions on grants that I could potentially answer?
I have a question, Ben.
Yep.
In approaching and applying for these grants, do you ask the city leaders for the match first before applying for grant? Do they know exactly what they're gonna get? And
The ones the grants that we work on with the cities, there is usually some sort of partnership arrangement where, yeah, the cities, sometimes they, bring certain portions of the match money. Sometimes they lead the grant pursuit effort and pay for that grant development, and then we work with them. So yeah, typically there is some sort of, on all the ones that we partner with them, there's discussions on how the funding would work. And sometimes we're able to leverage some of the project funding that we have for related projects, and that is able to count as match. So we always look for those types of opportunities to make it so that they can bring maybe a small amount of money, but it makes the whole thing work with bundling it with a project that we already have going. So
And do they have a, sorry, do they have a timeline for each grant or each project if they don't meet or exceed, they have extension opportunities, or just like you have to do it by this deadline, otherwise not valid?
like once we receive a grant, yeah, there is usually timelines on when you have to keep the project moving. It probably varies between the grant program, but yeah, you can't just let it sit there for too long, or else they'll kind of like the inactive project thing that Ivan was talking about. You got to show progress on these and keep them moving. Yep.
And the last, if the grant gets approved and the community is not ready, what happens? Revert back, null and void, or what we do?
If we were in a situation where, we determined at the point that we got the grant that it wasn't going to work, then we would have to explore opportunities for maybe turning the money. I don't think we've been in that situation. Most of the time, if we've worked with them and we've submitted the grant, then we're ready to figure out a way to move forward with that project. But you never know. Every once in a while, you can run into some unintended or unforeseen
Projected
issues.
Yeah, so my question was kind of along the same lines relative to the railroad crossing. The railroad's already a partner in that as we apply for this grant.
Yeah, there has been different discussions with the railroad companies on what the best way forward are. A lot of times that informs the cost estimate. Like they probably provide insight on, I know on that specific one, there was some strategies and questions around the right of way and, how that would work and how much it would cost and everything. So yeah, I guess that is one key with any of these grants, is make sure that you're talking with all the entities and make sure everybody's aware of what's going on. Yeah.
Thanks.
Go ahead, please.
This is very helpful, and I know that in some circles, we've been talking about the sophistication of some of our counties and towns around Utah. Their officials may not be high enough to support or understand this, and that maybe some additional education may be required to ensure that they are really taking advantage of these opportunities. They're the right kind of partners. They're looking forward, and that's part of our economic development opportunities. And I appreciate what you're doing, and that we'll send them to you, Ben, for some additional training when that comes up. But it really is surprising. I mean, there's no reason why you should suspect
right,
or expect that some of them would have that expertise, but it's important for us to have partners that we can.
Yeah, Ivan Marrero showed that clip of the DOT Navigator on the federal side, and
Right,
I think there was a webinar earlier this week that
Yeah.
it talks. So I feel like FHWA and the federal US DOT is doing a great job of providing additional resources for entities that are maybe not used to pursuing some of these, and giving them tools to how to apply, and here's what to look for, and obviously we'll try to help as much as we can, but we're learning a lot as well. So
Sure. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you.
Yes, please, come forward.
Ivan Marrero, Federal Highways. Yeah, to follow up on this discussion about the, getting the word out and educating people. One of the things that the last transportation bill did increase the budget of the Federal Highway Administration. So we've been able to add a couple of people to our office. So we did create a position, and I forget what the exact term is, but a grants manager, yeah, position. So this individual will, one of his duties will be to educate, get the word out, work with any recipient who, like I said before, may not have had experience with federal funds and do whatever we can to help them. But so yeah, we're definitely got that in our radar, doing all we can to assist with that.
Very
Thank
helpful.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Next item of the agenda is number 7, consent agenda, and Ivan Hardle is coming forward to present that.
Morning, Mr. Chair, Commission. Ivan Hartle, Financial Programming. My first item to present, item number 7, the consent agenda. Included in the consent agenda packet is the minutes for the December 16th, 2022 Commission meeting and a list of projects. The projects included in the exhibit have either been awarded, have identified budget amounts that can be recovered, or in a closeout process and have funding available to be removed and reprogrammed. And I would echo Carlos's comment earlier. That last paragraph is how we manage and make sure that our inactive projects stay active and move through the process quickly. So again, here is our the commission meeting minutes from the Friday meeting, December 16th. And just scrolling through the minutes for each of the actions that were reviewed.
While you're scrolling, is this a good time to tell Heather she's awesome at our minutes?
Always a good time. for
Best
that.
minutes in the state.
Yeah, don't even have to come to the meeting.
Don't get any ideas.
When we want to count your vote, Lou, so come to me.
If you don't come to the meeting, you will miss on the entertainment.
And then we get down to our project returning funds section.
All right.
Showing the projects, the type of fund that will be returned, the program and the amounts.
And again, thank you, region directors and the groups that are managing this project so carefully and frugally. Thank you.
Our request today is a motion to approve the consent agenda items as presented.
I'd make a motion to approve the great minutes, as you said, and also it's nice we have this money now. We're going to talk about projects to add more money. Well, we know where some of that money's coming from, so.
I'll second.
There's a motion to second. Any other corrections? Edit? Comments? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
You proceed with number 8.
Our next item, moving to the program development section, 2023 STIP Amendment 4, Agenda Item 8A-1 is the 2023 Region 1 Transportation Alternatives Programs, the TAP projects. These are new projects. There are several new projects that you can see, 6 projects on the list. With the proposed project value also shown is the amount of funding that would come from the UDOT or Region 1's Transportation Alternatives Program and the local entity that will be contributing and participating in the project. So going down.
Sorry, in the matching category, whatever they can afford, there's no set formula for them, are they? Each project, whatever they can afford the communities, they can just give the money?
I think that it's project specific, depending on what UDOT would do without participation, and then adding areas of interest that are specific to that local community. And I'm sure it's much more complicated than that. We have Region 1 here.
Rob White, Region 1 Director. These require a 20% match from the community.
Okay, thank you.
And Mr. Chair, I was in a meeting, I'll give you an example, in a meeting with the CMPO this past weekend. We discussed the Wolfpack Way Trail. So they're discussed, the communities are involved in at least that discussion. They were. So I'm confident because they have to provide that match, they're engaged and involved.
Thank you.
So each one of the projects has a project map included. So our first item, the pedestrian safety project in Clinton City. Our second is a new sidewalk along SR 110 in West Point. You can see closing gaps of the existing sidewalk. Third one is Commissioner Menlove talked about the Wolfpack Way Trail Connector. This is the community's master plan. Antelope Drive environmental study for active transportation. A student drop off from Majestic Elementary. And then the Garland Library ADA improvement project. Our request today is a motion to approve adding these transportation alternative projects to the Region 1 Transportation Alternatives Program and to the current STIP as detailed.
Mr. Chair, I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Motion and second. Any other questions, concerns?
I just think it's great to see how right down into the community we get with the school drop off and the library ADA accommodations. I think those are really great examples of how we serve communities.
Yes, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 8A-1 is approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item 8A-2 is the I-15 Shepherd Lane interchange and pedestrian overpass. It's a funding addition from a transportation investment fund of $15 million. The Shepherd Lane interchange is a new interchange on I-15. This project also includes a series of structures to provide a pedestrian overpass at the Park Lane interchange. The project was originally funded in 2017. Funding was added in 2021 when the Shepherd Lane interchange type was determined and the Park Lane pedestrian structures were added to the project. With inflationary price increases across all items, it has become necessary to add funds to this project. So there's Shepherd Lane interchange located here. And the Park Lane runs off the end of the map down here in the lower right-hand corner. This would be the pedestrian lane or the Park Lane pedestrian overpass and the associated structures. And our request today is a motion to add funds to the I-15 lane interchange and pedestrian overpass project as detailed.
Mr. Chair, I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
I'll second.
There's a motion and second. Questions, concerns? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 8A-2 is approved.
Thank you. 8A-3 is an I-15 barrier and crash cushion replacement, also located in Region 1. It is a transportation solutions and structures funds to be added. Current project value $850,000 with the requested amount of $450,000 increase. The scope of this project is to replace barriers on I-15 in the Riverdale area. Construction price escalation, including price increases in concrete and precast barriers, has increased the estimate. We also propose adding maintenance of a structure in the vicinity of the current project. Adding this structure improves construction efficiency. The proposed funding is split with $150,000 coming from the structures maintenance fund and $300,000 from the Region 1 Transportation Solutions Program. Located here on our map, Riverdale. Our request today is a motion to add funding and scope to the replace obsolete barrier and crash cushions project as detailed.
Mr. Chairman, I'd move for approval.
Thank you.
Second.
The motion and a second. Any other questions, concerns? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 8A-3 is approved.
These maps really help, as always.
They
Thank
are.
you.
Thank you.
Our next item, 8A-4, is the SR 108, 300 North to 1800 North. Also a funding addition from our Transportation Investment Fund program. Current project value of 60 million and requested amount of 11 million. The scope of the SR 108 project is to reconstruct and widen SR 108 from 300 North to 1800 North. This project was programmed in 2017. Increases in the current estimates of right-of-way and construction-related expenses have escalated higher than originally anticipated and resulted in this project being underfunded. The project location here. Our request today is a motion to add funds to the SR 108 300 North to 1800 North project as detailed.
Mr. Chair, I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Rob, do we have any split the percentage of what is the right-of-way increases and material increases in this particular project? Do you have that number? Or any estimate?
Rob White, Region 1 Director. Got a frog in my throat, something. We do not have the split on that. A good chunk of it is the right-of-way, though, but we do have several items of construction that have gone over. Concrete is one of the bigger ones. This is a concrete roadway, and the price of concrete has increased significantly. So,
Thank you. Go ahead.
May I ask a question? As we go through these, I'm just doing the simple math on kind of the cost escalation that we're dealing with. But it also brings to mind the question, how long ago was this project approved and started? And then now we're finding, what kind of time difference are we dealing with?
2017.
Okay, all right, okay, thank you. I didn't see
We're 5
that.
or 6 years past when it was
Okay.
originally.
All right,
funded.
thank you.
Okay.
Okay, appreciate that.
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 8A-4 is approved. Thank you.
Next item, 8A-5, is the I-80 1300 East to 2300 East and the 215 33rd South to 45th South. The current project value is 146 million with a $34 million requested add. It's currently funded out of the High Volume Pavement and Reconstruction Program. And the requested addition will come from the reconstruction program. The scope of this project is to add a westbound lane and reconstruct I-80 from 1300 East to 2300 East and to reconstruct I-215 from 33rd South to 4500 South. This project was advertised in the fall of 2020 and awarded in early spring of 2021. During this period, the effects of the COVID environment, both existing and latent, were unforeseen. A number of related compounding events, trucking shortages, material shortages, and labor shortages greatly affected the planned schedule of this project. The projected schedule impact from the first few months of unforeseen circumstances threatened to push the schedule of the project to the duration UDOT deemed unacceptable. The project team worked together to look for opportunities to accelerate those the aspects of the project that provided new pavement for the traveling public as quickly as possible. With the exception of some areas of northbound I-215, all traffic is now on permanent pavement. However, the contractor has been delayed into 2023, into the 2023 construction season, and has incurred expenses related to the acceleration. Those project delays have resulted in additional costs to the contractor. As shown here, the extended traffic control of 9.6 million, maintenance and administration activities of 6 million, material and labor price increase of 7 million, and winter concrete protection of 800,000. They've also seen miscellaneous department issued change orders for extra culverts, different site conditions, unknown utility conflicts, and adding contrast striping totaling 1.6 million. The additional duration of the project is also projected to increase the project administration costs, the program management, construction engineering management, and inspection testing of the department by 7 million. The requested amount will allow the project to finish construction this upcoming season. So located here on our map on I-80 and 215. Our request today is a motion to add funds to the I-80 1300 East to 2300 East and I-215 33rd South to 45th South project as detailed.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I would make the comment that this has been a difficult project. I mean, those of us that travel that a lot or often, there's been a lot of things going on, and for the traffic to move through there as well as we have with all of the other problems that's come along, this was not an easy project when we started it. And we just found some more things. And so in light of that and the progress that they've made and that we're going to get that finished, I'd move that we approve.
Thank you.
I'd second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. I also would like to say congratulate to all the team members that worked so diligently to try to get to this point. It is taking time, but finally it is successful. Would you please explain or someone explain about the winter time protecting the concrete? I can see that.
I need a warm blanket.
Yeah, so Robert Stewart, Region 2 Director, cold weather protection for the concrete. So concrete, if it's placed below freezing, needs to be covered and heated at some points in time in order to let the concrete cure. It could actually be damaged if the concrete freezes while the hydration process is working where the water is escaping the concrete. And so you cover it with blankets, keep the heat within it, let it cure until it gets strong enough and the moistures escape from it. So that freezing doesn't affect the durability of the concrete. Does that make sense?
Even with the add in the ash or any other materials, it's still you have to have the.
Yeah,
cover.
Concrete, as strong as it becomes, it's very, very fragile when it's first placed, right? And so during that curing process, the hydration process, it's pretty fragile. And actually getting that cure, those first 7 to 14 days are critical for the long-term durability of the concrete. So you really want, as you drive down the road in winter right now, you'll see concrete placed, you'll see blankets put over it. That's what the protection is for it.
Not like sunny St. George.
No, it is not.
Especially this year.
Thank you. So we had a motion and a second. Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Thank you.
Any opposed?
Thank you, and thank you for letting me get some of my nerd out there. That was awesome. Thanks.
I'll remember that. Item 8A-5 is approved. Thank you.
Thank you. 8A-6 is SR 68 6200 South to 215. It's a funding addition from the Transportation Solutions Program of $1,650,000. The scope of the SR 68 6200 South to 215 project is to add an additional northbound lane on Redwood Road from 6200 South to 215 and add dual lanes to the eastbound and westbound on ramps to I-215 to construct a northbound displaced left turn continuous flow intersection. Recently, bids were opened with the low bid coming in at 20% over the engineer's estimate. The main items that came in high included roadway excavation, various drainage issues, and various concrete items. The bids were reviewed and it was determined that the best course of action was to add additional funds and award the project rather than to rebid. Located here on our map, an example of the project change here. 6200 south, this is Redwood, 215 would be north here. Our request today is a motion to add funds to the SR 68 6200 south to 215 project as detailed.
Mr. Chair, I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Item 8A-6 is approved.
Thank you. 8A-7, northbound I-15 in Linden. It's a northbound I-15 barrier project in Linden from the Transportation Solutions Program, adding the requested add of $950,000. The scope of the northbound I-15 barrier in Linden project is to install a cast-in-place concrete barrier along a newly developed section of I-15. The original estimate assumed that the barrier would be placed on the existing rolled gutter. During the design of the project, it was determined the rolled gutter would not support the additional weight of this new barrier. The rolled gutter will need to be removed and replaced in order to support the weight of the new barrier. The new barrier will create a need for a drainage system to prevent water from ponding on I-15. During project discussions, a request was made to create an access point to maintain a traffic camera also. Region 3 proposes to use Transportation Solutions funds in order to advertise the project. So located here on our map, along this section of I-15 in Linden.
Where is the location of the access point for camera? Do we know at this point? So I will know when I'm driving there, can slow down.
Yeah, Rob Clayton, Region 3 Director. The camera is close to the, you see where the purple line is? It's close to that mile marker 274. It's in that area.
Okay. Thank you. Question.
New word, rolled gutter.
Yeah, so it's just kind of a concave shape
And it's on the side of that.
on the edge, on the edge of the pavement.
Okay.
Yeah. This was designed and constructed for the I-15 core project about 10 or 12 years ago. And this section was designed so that the water would run off and then basically just run off the side of the road. And what we found is that this is basically kind of a bowl area. And so that's why we need to put in the drainage system, because if we just put the barrier up, then the water would run against the barrier and stay there.
Cool.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Is there a cable barrier there now?
there's not.
No.
There's a barbed wire fence, pretty much.
For the I-15 corridor.
You can see the development is getting really close to the freeway there, and there was actually an incident with a vehicle that I think the driver fell asleep or had a medical event, and actually the vehicle or a portion of it, I think it might have been a tire that came off the vehicle, actually hit one of those buildings. So,
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
So if you look at that, kind of in the middle, just above the big open area there, that's now a park. There's lawns in the play area. So you'll have families, kids playing there. Right in front of that, between that and the freeway is, I think, it's the lift station. You don't want the kids hit, you don't want the lift station hit. And this, I would think, would help to keep things off of that, as Rob's saying. This is right north of where I get on the freeway whenever I go north. So I look at this often.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
I would move that we approve.
And I'd second.
There's a motion and a second. Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 8A-7 is approved. Thank you.
Thank you. 8A-8, Saratoga Springs Redwood Road Trail Phase 2 projects. This is currently funded through the Mountain Land Association of Governments. The requested add would come from the UDOT Transportation Alternatives Program of $186,000. The scope of the Saratoga Springs Redwood Road Trail Phase 2 project is to fill in a gap in the existing trail system adjacent to Redwood Road between Delmore Drive and 1140 North in Saratoga Springs. The project costs have increased since the concept estimate was prepared and funded in 2018. Most of the increase is due to fuel, oil, and labor costs. Region 3 proposes to use their Transportation Alternatives Program to fund the increase in the estimated costs. Located here on our map, this Redwood Road, this blue section in the middle. Our request today is a motion to approve adding funds to the Saratoga Springs Redwood Road Trail Phase 2 project as detailed.
I'd move for approval.
Thank you.
Second.
The motion and the second. Any other questions and concerns? Being none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Item 8A-8 is approved. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll split the percentage. But
Moving to Region 4, item 8A-9, the US 6 Soldier Summit Median Barrier Project. It's a new project from the Traffic and Safety Program. The scope of the project is to restripe the existing southbound passing lane to move the taper away from the curve to improve roadway safety and passing opportunities. The project will construct a constant slope concrete median barrier and address the associated drainage through the section of the roadway. The majority of the crashes at this location have been crossover crashes due to weather and speed. The proposed median barrier will improve safety by reducing the risk of vehicles entering the opposing lanes. Located here on our map, near and through Soldier Summit. Our request today is a motion to approve the new US 6 Soldier Summit Median Barrier Project and to add to the current STIP as detailed.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, please.
I presume there's a break or there's a break somewhere in that about where the top is and the station and stuff to build, or how do people going eastbound, get over to that? Is there a way that maybe I'm just curious.
Monty's coming forward.
Quite a lot of trucks when you do that too. Good morning, Monty Aldridge, Region 4 Director. Yeah, the length of this is such that it won't preclude the ability for people to have access.
Okay.
So it shouldn't be a problem there.
Okay, yeah, and safely, obviously, because sometimes you don't plan, you run low on gas. I just wonder if there's a way that, and seeing that too. Okay. Thank you.
Relatively short section, so.
I'd move for approval. Anything we can do to add safety along that Highway 6, whatever piece we add is important.
Every one of us knows
Yeah.
exactly what we're talking about.
So we have a motion and a second.
I'll second.
Yeah.
Any other questions and concerns? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 8A-9 is approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next item, 8A-10, the US 89-900 East to 300 North Kanab and US 89A. It's a funding addition from the High Volume Roads Program of $900,000, current project value a little over $1 million. The scope of the US 89-900 East to 300 North Kanab and the US 89A project is to microsurface seal and reconstruction of pedestrian ramps. The additional $900,000 is needed due to the increased mobilization and traffic control costs seen in delivering projects in rural locations and to address inflation related to microsurface seal and other construction costs. Located here on our map, in and around Kanab. Our request today is a motion to add funds to the US 89-900 East to 300 North Kanab and US 89A project as detailed.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Any other questions from either Ivan or Monty while we have? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 8A-10 is approved. Thank you.
8A-11 is the Bridge Formula Program or project additions. There are 4 new bridges that were requested to add to our Bridge Formula Program today. We'll talk about each one. At the April 29th, 2022 Transportation Commission, the commission approved the bridge list to move 90 bridges prioritized based on condition and load restrictions eligible for funding from the Infrastructure Investments and Jobs Act Bridge Formula Program. The following structures are on the approved Bridge Formula Program structure list: the Deep Creek Bridge west of Snowville, Smith Morehouse Creek Bridge northeast of Oakley, Brush Creek Canal Bridge north of Jensen, and the Gramercy Avenue Bridge over the Ogden River. On the Deep Creek Bridge west of Snowville, the department proposes to transfer this project as a replacement of the structure from the 2024 Structures Program to the Bridge Formula Program. The structure is currently in poor condition and load posted at 25 tons. In addition, it is requested that the value of the project be increased by $1.4 million. The increase is primarily due to the rise of construction costs and labor costs in recent years. This structure is on the federal aid highway system. Therefore, this project will require a local agency match under the Bridge Formula Program. The town of Snowville is in support of this project and is able to provide the necessary match. Our next item, Smith Morehouse Creek Bridge northeast of Oakley. This proposed project will perform a full bridge replacement of the structure. The existing structure is currently in poor condition and is on the federal aid highway system. Therefore, the bridge will require a local agency match under BFP. The Summit County is in support of the project and is able to provide the necessary match. Our next item, Brush Creek Canal Bridge north of Jensen. This proposed project will perform a full bridge replacement of the structure. The existing structure is currently in poor condition and is load posted for 8 tons. This structure is also on the federal aid highway system. Therefore, this project will require a local agency match under the Bridge Formula Program. Uintah County is in support of the project and is able to provide the necessary match. Our last item, the Gramercy Avenue Bridge over Ogden River. This proposed project will perform a full bridge replacement of the structure. The existing structure is currently in poor condition and is load posted for 30 tons. This structure is not on the federal aid highway system. Therefore, no local agency match is required under BFP. Ogden City has been contacted and is in support of the project. On our maps here, here's the near Snowville.
Help me just a bit more context. Where's Snowville beyond this map?
Sorry, say that one more time.
Where actually is Snowville? I'm sorry.
On the way to Idaho.
It's, between Fremont and Idaho, I-84, just off the road. And maybe you've not eaten at Molly's Cafe there?
Not yet, but
In Snowville?
okay.
Was that a recommendation?
Yeah.
Well, I
Endorsement.
haven't been there for years, so I'll hold that.
Okay.
Used to be good.
Thank you.
And then the Smith Morehouse Creek Bridge northeast of Oakley. in
I
Summit
do know
County.
that that's exactly where cell coverage goes bad, right at that very bridge. Yep, that one I do know. Yep.
Are you asking for cell coverage to be included in the bridge replacement?
We're a full service operation here. I hope eventually.
We're laying that fiber down.
That's fiber or us.
Our third project, the Brush Creek Canal Bridge north of Jensen. And then the Gramercy Avenue Bridge over the Ogden River.
Yep. A cemetery there, yeah.
Pictures of each of the bridge, the Deep Creek Bridge. Smith Morehouse Creek Bridge. Our
Oh my goodness.
Brush Creek Canal Bridge.
Hand cards came over.
Yeah, with hand cards.
And then the Gramercy Avenue Bridge.
This program is so important.
Yep.
Yes.
Our request today is a motion to approve the Bridge Formula Program project additions as detailed.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make that motion.
Thank you.
Second.
It's a motion and a second. Any other questions, concerns?
Okay, A for the day. How many bridges do we have in the state of Utah? Carmen's told us a couple times.
Becky's here. She can answer that.
How many bridges in the state of Utah? Isn't that amazing? The second
Yeah.
driest state in America? That is huge responsibility.
That
That's
one
good.
north of Jensen could be historical.
If it lasts.
I don't know the age of that one. The Gramercy Avenue was 1915.
Wow.
Well, all in favor of this project, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 8A-11 is approved. Thank you.
And this really makes you feel like we're doing something worthwhile to get bridges protected. So thank you.
Our next item, 8A-12, is the wrong way driving detection system. This is a new project from the Transportation Solutions Program. of with a requested amount of 2.5 million. UDOT has researched wrong-way driving systems and has selected a technology and product line that will best integrate with our systems and partners. The project scope is to install and integrate the system at locations and then monitor the performance. The project team has identified and prioritized the top 20 locations along the interstate system. The system is designated to monitor individual ramps for wrong-way traffic, provide notification when an incident occurs, and provides a field feedback to alert the wrong-way driver. So on this graphic, the top 20 prioritized locations that we will begin on the project.
Yep. Today?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, no, we know all of them.
And then some images of what the system would look like.
That particular interchange is kind of awkward.
The visually, it may change a little bit, but this will be consistent. You'll have the signage along the ramp, the wrong-way driving signage. You can see that the one on the left is higher up the ramp. This wrong-way sign on the left-hand side is now on the right-hand picture. Probably could have put those differently, but that's that. The way the system will operate, here's the same picture that we saw. And when a vehicle approaches and it's detected to be in the wrong direction, the light above it will shine white. And then the LEDs around all three of these signs you can see will illuminate wrong-way driving.
Cool.
That big light should blind them, right? They just stop them right there.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes.
How quickly would this be implemented? This ballpark? It's still happening, you know, it seems like once a week we get.
Commissioners, Troy Peterson, Operations Director. Question was how quickly we get it implemented. Our goal would be to have these installed this spring throughout the summer. So yeah, would they all be 20 and done this year? No, but we would start the implementation this year.
So the top 10 that was listed in the list is the first 10.
Our goal would to get the top, all 20 on that list with the funding that's being proposed.
And were those locations chosen because of previous problem?
So there's a task force last year that was created with UDOT. We had members of our traffic and safety team, our traffic management division, as well as our UHP partners to look at this. This is one of the items that we came out of that task force is this look at new technology. And this is the one we come up with to install. And that's really where that task force came up with is this, looking at this system here.
And the locations?
Locations, yes. Obviously working with our UHP partners, they're aware of a lot of locations where they may respond more frequently.
Gotcha, thank
or
you.
reported of these type of incidents. While I'm here, make sure to take a second here real quick to show a quick video if I can grab it. I see help coming, so this is going to help. This is great. Okay, so one real quick, there's with this system, and I'll show a quick snippet of a video. You'll notice that there's a couple of cameras. That light that they showed was to help with the video, so you can actually see the pictures that they're going to be taking in the video that's being shot as this vehicle moves down the wrong way direction.
Oh yeah.
And then there's a radar detector, 2 cameras, and obviously the signs that will light up to help having the if someone is going the wrong, help them hopefully self-correct and not continue down the on-ramp. So let me just play this real quick. Seeing that? Okay. You see the car coming down. The detector sees it's coming. It flaps on the lights. This is the alert that comes into the TOC. Let me pause that real quick. And this is the information that will go to the TOC and our UHP partners of the actual location. So we know where it's happening. We've got confirmation of the vehicle that's going. So we have a lot more clear direction in order how to respond. And you can see here coming through, the vehicle be detected, lights kick on, wrong way driving. Hopefully the vehicle turns around at that point, but if not, there's a confirmation email that's going on to send that through. Hopefully hopefully that helps understand what we're installing there.
Thank you, Troy.
And I noticed, Troy, Chair, the tree even from your center, you'll put up, because we saw one the other day driving down the freeway, be aware of a wrong way driver on, you know, your big electronic signs where we were, thought, okay, we're, you know, so I mean, that told us to be alert. That was a good thing too.
Just one more before we scroll down. Again, these are the 20 locations. There's 2 different sets, priority 1 through 10, and then 11 through 20 on the right-hand side.
Okay.
Okay. Our request today is a motion to approve adding the wrong way driving detection system project to the current STIP as detailed.
So moved.
Thank you.
I'll second.
The motion is second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 8A-12 is approved. Next, for items are for information only. Yes?
Correct. Next item in Region 1, the Zollinger Park Shared Use Path. It's a funding addition of local funds. Recent cost estimates show the need for the additional funding for the Zollinger Park Shared Use Path. Providence City is adding local funds to cover shortfall. The Cash MPO approved the changes at their executive council meeting held on January 30th. Located here on the map. And this was an information-only item. Our next item also deals with the Zollinger Park Shared Use Path, as well as the 300 South Bike Lanes to 200 West project, 200 West to 100 East. Is to combine those 2 projects together in a project combination. The above table shows 2 project combinations. The individual projects have previously been approved through commission action. Project combinations are done to provide efficiencies in project delivery. Also for information only. Next item, 8A-15, the Dixie MPO projects. There are 4 projects on this list. MPO regional shared use path standards, Washington County Trail Counters, Ivan City Shared Use Path Network Gap Fill Project, and the George Washington Bridge from River Road to Crosby Road. The Dixie MPO trail networks continue to expand and connect across municipal boundaries. It is becoming increasingly important that bordering communities collaborate on planning, design, construction, and maintenance of these trails. It is important for trail users that these networks be cohesive regardless of city lines. The conditions found on various trails vary, being built by different municipalities, contractors, and developers. Regional standards for design, construction, etiquette and rules, pavement markings, wayfinding, and signage would facilitate uniformity. The expected deliverable would be a regional trail standard and wayfinding document that local municipalities can adopt. The Washington County Trail Counters, the MPO region has invested millions of dollars in paved use trails. Currently, there is no effective, efficient way to gauge use of these trails and compare them across different areas, type of year, type of infrastructure, etc. Trail counters strategically located throughout our trail network would help understand use and assist in guiding future investment. Future trail decisions could be better made when guided by actual usage data rather than anecdotal evidence and impartial data from secondary sources. Our third item is the Ivan City Shared Use Path Network Gap Fill Project. Ivan City has several miles of shared use paths. Unfortunately, there are gaps in this excellent network. The purpose of this project is to begin to fill and identified gaps to create a contiguous trail network and connect to the recently completed old Highway 91 path. The connection of these paths should prompt more use from the trail network as it provides a complete connection of the trail system from Snow Canyon Park, State Park to Santa Clara City and Fire Lake Park at Ivans Reservoir. The overall project estimate is $1.3 million. The project is scalable and will be addressed in phases as funding is available. The current $625,000 for phase 1 will prioritize the locations for highest and best utilization. The last project, the George Washington Boulevard from River Road to Crosby Road project. St. George City has proposed to extend George Washington Parkway from River Road to Crosby Road, not including the bridge. This full project connecting into Dixie Drive is broken into 2 phases. This project will build phase 1 up to Virgin River. St. George is currently under design on phase 2, including the structure and connection into Dixie Drive. This new extension is one of the highest priority projects for St. George City. The extension will reduce commute times to major employment centers within the region and provide an east-west connection route while reducing traffic on River Road and Riverside Drive. Right-of-way for this segment has been secured over the past several years by the city. Multi-use trails will be facilitated and improved with connections to the Virgin River Trail System. These new projects were approved by the Dixie MPO Transportation Executive Council on January 17, 2023. So located here, the Washington County Trail Counter Project. The next was the Ivan City Shared Use Path Gap Fill Project, identifying the gaps in their network. Next, the George Washington Boulevard from River Road, Crosby Road project, showing phase 1 and phase 2. And again, this was for information only for the commission. Our last item, 8A-16, is the 2023 statewide truck parking study. This is a new project funded by the Freight Network, or the Freight Funds, our Freight program. This study will assess the current state of truck parking in Utah, including supply, demand, safety, and input from the trucking industry. This will help identify where truck parking needs exist and inform potential strategies for meeting those needs. This was an informational only. This item has been approved by the Deputy Director Authority given in the Utah Transportation Commission Policy 01-01.
Question?
Yes,
Sure.
please.
Is those truck parking, is that where you see places where there's really nothing but, for example, the roads go off and then there's places to park and they get back on? I mean, just providing those safety places for them if they need to pull over. You'll find some included at rest areas. You'll find some non-rest areas. I mean, does that include all of those?
Yeah, good morning, Commissioners. Andrea Olson, Planning Division at UDOT. I was hoping to have the opportunity to come talk to you.
I'll ask that question.
Yeah, what is going to be included in this is a pretty comprehensive inventory piece of it, and then look at supply and demand and where, you know, if we're fulfilling demand where we need it, but not in other places, look at opportunities to, you know, partner with private industry potentially, or use public funds to supply more of that parking.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other
Would such places have electric charging stations these days? I mean, are trucks using those yet? I mean, it's interesting because they're going to be resting there for quite a
Yeah.
while.
That is a great question. I don't know the answer to that. I would anticipate that would be factored into this inventory work, though.
As long as we're doing it, yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks.
absolutely.
Thank you.
And that is all of the program development items for this month.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks. I have a quick question. Are we anticipating that all of the projects that have been approved in the past are going to need additional funding based on the costs of materials and supplies? Or is this just, I mean, I'm trying to get my head around what percentage, is it all projects? Is it a certain percentage?
Depending on when they were programmed, probably like the ones that you heard about today, they were programmed back in 2017. We are adjusting our estimates every workshop now, and we do see it leveling off. So we're hoping that in the future, we won't have to continue to come back to you all.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that information. Thanks.
Thank you, Ivan. Item number 9 in your agenda is corridor preservation, and Charles Stormer is coming to present that.
Good morning once again, Commissioners. Quickly, we'll move through the status of the Marta Del Rey Corridor Preservation Fund. The balance for it is just a hair under $43.5 million. Is this enlarged enough? Are you able to read it?
Yes.
It's on our screens too.
Motor vehicle rental tax revenue of 748,000 and change, rental income of 75,000 and change, and a healthy interest income. Total income of just under $1 million. Property management expenses, 34,580, other expenses for appraisals, closing costs, and other related items. And then our account balancing of $976 for total expenses of just under 46,000. I'll note this is the fund balance as of the end of November. We'll review December in just a moment. The committed funds total just under $6.2 million, and as of the end of November, we had a total fund balance of 38.2 million, just under. We have in that our last meeting, we had an approved item at the $747,000, leaving a fund balance of just under 37.5. Fast forward now to the end of December, balance forward of just under 44.4 million, total income of 722,000 and change. The motor vehicle rental tax revenue declined. I always find it interesting that I think of Utah as a winter tourist destination, but we've obviously become a much heavier summer and spring and fall tourist destination, thanks to our wonderful parks. And so the motor vehicle rental tax was down compared to what we've seen over the last several months. Expenses of just over $28,000, fund balance at that end of December of just under 45.1 million. You can see the committed funds of just under 7 million. We do have one request for you today at 1,105,000 that, if approved, would leave an available balance of just over $37 million. And we'll look at our fund tracking sheet. I find it interesting, the interest is ticking up as the Fed has been taking action to curb inflation. Our corridor preservation fund is seeing a little bit of a benefit from that. It's always interesting to me how some challenges lead to opportunities. Are there any questions on the fund balance?
Just Charles, on the August 2020, why is on the right 324,000? Why is that in that column?
This is the account balancing that occurs at the end of every fiscal year. It doesn't show up in July because it's not the first thing they have to deal with as the new fiscal year rolls out. So it hit our fund in August.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
Mr. Chair, and I don't know if this is the right time to ask the question, but do I recall that we've requested some additional funding for this corridor preservation fund, and how will that benefit us?
I will say that we haven't requested. It's been proposed that they will add it. I'm not sure what the status of that is up at the legislature.
Mr. Chairman,
Please.
the governor's budget did propose a $50 million increase to the corridor preservation fund. And one of the bills moving through the session, which I find would be very helpful, would allow us to use some revenues from that fund to actually provide staff to Charles. Right now, we're reacting to opportunities. We're not going out and being proactive to try to secure some of these corridors. So legislators are very interested in helping provide a little more proaction so you guys might become busier if that bill passes.
Yeah.
There's also been requests by legislators of up to $150 million additional for the one-time money for this fund. So anywhere between 50 and 150, and maybe some additional resources to be able to do the work.
Yeah, and just to highlight Carlos's point, we have Diana Lika, who has significant property management responsibilities in addition to her corridor preservation responsibilities. So it's the opportunity to add staff to focus on this type of work would even adding just a single experienced real estate professional would go a long way in being much more proactive.
Okay.
Thank you.
I could not agree more. And the work is much more complicated than it would appear on its surface. And it's just brilliant, the work they're doing to balance a lot of challenges. So as a real estate guy, I am highly sympathetic and impressed by what's happening. So thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I would say also it's forward thinking because we're seeing so much development in growing areas and it's creating significant challenges with roads. Cache Valley, for example, we're struggling with routes for commuters as opposed to routes for neighborhoods and economic development. And if those corridors have been preserved and set apart, and so Cache Valley is starting to think ahead, finally to the west side and saying, what can we do where we already don't have population, large developments happening? So this is critical.
Yes.
I'm sure for St. George as well and all.
Everywhere in the state, everywhere.
No, as we drove in today, Diana commented on what Harriman used to look like when she was growing up and how much has changed. I think just being in Harriman as an example, the tremendous growth we're experiencing highlights how important this work is.
Yes.
If there aren't any other questions, I'll move into our one item today.
Go ahead.
We'll start with a high level map and I'll walk through the fact sheet with you. This is the first time you've seen a parcel for the Heber Valley corridor. They're currently working on an environmental impact statement, and this map shows you the area and the home at 1155 South, 1440 West in Heber City. The home is owned by Monta Giles. It might be Giles where I'm from. That's how I would say it, but Monta Giles and her now deceased husband built the home in 2016. I'll scroll down just to get a little more detail. The environmental impact statement is still underway, and so this map shows all of the proposed alternatives other than the no-build alternative that are under consideration, and you can see the Giles home here, and then we'll go in with a little more detail.
No matter what.
The alignment that goes over the top of the house, so you can't see it very well on this aerial, but the total parcel is 6.25 acres. Their home has 4 bedrooms and 3 baths. Ms. Giles has attempted to sell the home on the market, but has been unable to do so. She's hoping to downsize and find a piece of property that's a little easier for her to manage. The parcel has appraised for $1,105,000, and the Corridor Preservation Advisory Council has given a favorable recommendation to the commission to approve this request. And our request would be approval to proceed with the acquisition of this parcel at appraised value.
So moved.
I'd second.
Okay. There's a motion and a second. Any other questions from Charles? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Item number 9-A is approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioners.
Thank you, Charles. Okay, we have under number 10 and 11, we have prioritization process update. Stephanie's on her way, and she will be followed by, again, our fund professor, Ben Hugh.
Good morning, Commissioners. Stephanie Tomlin, Central Planning. I'm just here to give a pretty brief update on the TIF and TTIF capacity project prioritization process. It's quite a mouthful. We'll be back later with more substantial action and discuss more, but this is just an update because the last time we were with you to talk about this was actually last September. So it's been quite a few months and we've been making a lot of progress and doing a lot of work. So we figured we would come and share where we are. So just a quick reminder, the TIF and the TTIF models, these are decision support tools that you all use for programming for projects. They break down in these 2 ways. So for TIF, that stands for the Transportation Investment Fund. We heard a lot of discussion about that earlier. We have within that fund the highway and the active model, so the 2 programs for that funding. And then for TTIF, that stands for Transit Transportation Investment Fund. We have a transit model and then a first last mile model that we evaluate projects within. So those models are then what's used to develop the ranked lists of projects, again, that you then use for consideration in programming. So I shared this slide last time in September, but it's good to kind of review again. So the goal, again, we're updating these models and reviewing them to make sure that they're still serving us well. These are the 2023 update goals that we've been working under. So one of the biggest is to streamline and simplify the models. They're currently quite complex and have a lot of moving parts. And we've identified opportunities to say, hey, you know, what's the most important component of this? How can we streamline and make it more efficient? We're also taking a look and reevaluating the ranking methodology. We're currently using a relative ranking system, and we think that there could be some improvements made to that, which would help us better accommodate amendments that come in and different project additions, and just make it kind of more streamlined. New data sources. There's kind of always new data sources coming online, but even since this model was updated in 2018, 2019, there's even additional new data available, and we'd like to make sure we're kind of keeping up with using the latest and greatest where appropriate. We're always looking to incorporate outcome-based measures. And what I mean by that is, in instances where it's feasible, can we actually say, here's the project and here's the impact it would have on the specific corridor, as opposed to just saying, here's the conditions on this corridor. That might sound simple, but it can be a little complex to get into forecasting. And so that's why whenever it's kind of reasonable, we're looking to incorporate those outcome-based measures. The last two bullets really are, I think of them hand in hand, looking to institutionalize this process, you know, both within UDOT, but then also sync up the timing with the unified plans, which is, you know, runs on a 4-year cycle. It's a roll up of the MPO regional transportation plans and the UDOT long range plan. So we're thinking about that and how this can all kind of work seamlessly. So those are the goals. That's what we've been working through. This is the process that we've been going through. We're currently in this orange box, the fun kind of create stage, but we started in fall of 2022 evaluating the current models. Then we really went into an ideation phase where we were like, what could we do? What's some great ways to improve this? But that happened with a lot of input through stakeholder workshops and other meetings. And again, now we're kind of we're rolling up our sleeves and looking at these models and actually kind of starting to make some of those updates. We'll obviously be looking to validate the models, make sure that they're working the way we would expect based on the measures that we're incorporating. And then we'll get into adding the weighting. So that's, assigning the measures a weight, of which the commission will certainly be involved in that process. And then last but not least would be incorporating the models and adopting them to implement in the next program cycle. So looking to wrap this up in the summer of 2023. This is just kind of a fun visual, like these workshops. We've been, again, working really hard and in incorporating a lot of stakeholders through this process. So this is a photo we did 4 stakeholder workshops back in September. 2 of them were for UDOT employees, and then the other 2 we opened up to UDOT employees as well as MPO and transit agency employees. We just talked through this idea of we really kind of had to pin people down and say, help us streamline and simplify. And so the image that you're seeing on the left is, a model that we actually put up on the wall and said, what's most important to you? When you think of a good active transportation project, for example, what's most important to you? Just to kind of help everyone think through that. So it was a really productive couple of days of workshops. We're also, you see on the bottom there, MPO meetings. So we're working very closely with our partners at the MPOs to have them really engaged in this process and help us, kind of update and give some feedback and guidance on what their kind of highest priorities are as well for this process. So this is my final slide, just to kind of show where we're going from here. So you can see the top row there, that's commission touch points. So here we are in February. You can see March is light orange because we're not sure at this point. We anticipate coming back either March and May or May and June, kind of depending on how some of these the MPO meetings go and the just working through the models, like things, sometimes take longer than we expect. But you can see the blue is that stakeholder engagement that we discussed. Green, this is really where we are right now, working through the models and actually, kind of making the improvements that we're doing. And then new model finalization, we're hoping for, like I said, June of 2023. And then these models, we open up for nominations. And so you can see the nomination window, we're currently kind of looking at May and June likely to open up for nominations. And then that, as I mentioned, that unified plan, hoping to have those project lists sometime in September. So with that, if there's any questions, again, there's no action for this, but any questions on the process? Absolutely.
A couple of thoughts. I really appreciate the goals that were set for the update. I think they were actually kind of exciting. So I admire whatever the process that got you to that place. You mentioned that you engaged the MPOs.
Correct.
What about the communities that don't live within MPOs? Talk to me a little bit about how the rurals are considered as you go through this process.
That's a great question. What we're leaning heavily on our regions to help with that. So the rural space, knowing that the way the RTPs or the regional transportation plans happen at an MPO level, and then the long range plan that's conducted by UDOT. And so we kind of, right now, we're leaning a lot on the regions to help with that, to get some information on some of those rural areas.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's all. Thank you, Stefan.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay.
And you're up again.
Thank you, Commissioners. Ben Hewitt, UDOT Program Development. And this last item is a for information only item on Administrative Rule R926-12. It's the Share the Road Bicycle Support Restricted Account Administrative Rule. So some quick background on that. The Share the Road Bicycle Support Restricted Account is primarily funded through a special license plate program, and UDOT is responsible to distribute the funding from within that account to an eligible 501c3 entity that helps promote bicycle education, safe bicycle operation, safe motor vehicle operation around bicycles, and other educational efforts. So the reason for the rule change is pretty simple: to change the timing of those distributions. It's just the distributions happen twice a year, and it was in the rule April and October, but then through feedback from comptrollers, we want to change that to January and July so that they can distribute the money in the same fiscal year that it gets put into the account. Makes it easier to track everything, and they can close out the books a lot easier. But then while we were changing those two dates, Peter and Leif in our legislative and governor affairs took the opportunity to clean up some language and bring the wording up to the current standards for how administrative rules should be written and how they reference the code. So I'll just scroll quickly through the rule. There's a form that we fill out for each proposed rule change. And then you can see some of the strike throughs and stuff. Like I said, most of it is just clean up and referring to the code rather than repeating code, which is kind of standard or good practice, best practice. And then you can see right here under distribution of funds changing from April and October to January and July. So once again, that is a for informational item, and the next step would be to file it in the rulemaking process.
That's a question. Go ahead,
Yep.
please.
Do you have any idea how many plates there are that use this?
I don't know how many
Out?
plates, but I believe it's about $30,000 a year. So if somebody could do quick math, I think it's like $25 a year per plate.
There's just a bill to kind of eliminate some of these that fall under that 500 threshold. So it's nice to know that this does not cause a problem for this program.
Perfect.
Any question from Ben? Thank you again.
Thank you.
Item number 12, informational items. That is the commission committee reports. I'm going to turn to the left, the Commissioner Van Tassel.
Have no report today.
Okay, Commissioner DeMore.
No report.
Commissioner Menlove and I were following up the corridor preservation, which we're very pleased and fans of and grateful it's going forward. So, and to have additional funds there is a great investment in the future. So I defer to Commissioner Menlove for her take. She's much more charming.
I agree completely.
Thank you.
Commissioner Vince.
No reports today.
The Cache Metropolitan Planning Organization met and it was a great meeting and they very well organized and we accomplished all the tasks that were there and most of it was readjusting some funding reflective of what happens in this meeting. But it's interesting to watch how collaborative those mayors and local community leaders are in making those decisions. It's really great. And we appreciate the additional funding that was provided as well. Thank you.
Thank you. We had the 17th annual Dixie Transportation Expo in sunny St. George last Tuesday. We had 20 booths and then 961 people attended. That didn't include the exhibitors or the personnel. In comparison of the last 2 years, 2021 was 716. 2022 had 879. So we're growing and they just love it. We had the most civil and most pleasant Dixie Expo ever I've attended in 17 years. It was just awesome to see people just asking questions, pleased with seeing a number of the projects in Washington County and throughout the state. And just simply pleased that they have the money coming from the state to their communities. Oh, and I also had the opportunity to attend to Dixie MPO, which call them Transportation Executive Council. They approved their fiscal year 2022-23 CRP funds. And also we had opportunity here from the Cache Valley Executive Director of the Transit System to come and tell Washington County how to provide and how to start establishing their transit. It was a great discussions and very, I will say, educated input. And we were pleased to hear from him. He was really good to tell us where to look for the buses and which buses are much better in the repairs and maintenance, which are the more efficient for the fuel system. We had a great opportunity to hear from him. And finally, I had a last trimester for the Community Impact Board was the funding. We had 11 projects, all got funded. They had the safety improvements, they had the building, they had the ambulances, and water and sewer projects. And again, for those of leaders in this house, if you have the money you need for your community, we have as of last month, 2.5% loan. If you're producing county, you can get a grant, combination loan. But if you're not, you can have borrowed money at 2.5%. So bring your projects. There's the money there for you to use. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, may I make one more comment? I just want to give a lot of praise to the UDOT workers who are out there day and night helping us travel. We've had some terrific storms in northern Utah and we couldn't move without the UDOT personnel and they just do a great job. Our roads have been just perfect and we really appreciate it. We've had some very difficult storms and they've been out day and night. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Menlove, for that. It's we were lucky in that Representative Matthews earlier this session took an opportunity to recognize our snowplow drivers, and so she just thought it was important to recognize the amazing people, and so she invited them into the House. The Senate found out, so then. So we got to bring, I think, 4 of our employees down to the floor. We had a bunch up in the gallery And she said some amazing things. And I think we had it on our communication link. If the commissioners get that communication letter that we send
We
out
do,
a couple
yeah.
times a week.
The
And
stats were remarkable.
it was really cool. And just for them to be recognized that way, because they work day and night, and I think not often enough do they hear thank you. So thank you for doing that.
With all the notes we hear from the drivers of the trucks and all the coming to other states, that the minute they enter state Utah transportation roads and system, it's just amazing to see the difference. So I read that every week, and it's amazing to hear the other states. Go ahead, please.
No, I just want to add to that. It's just a pleasure to hear good comments. And in our world, if UDOT employees return phone calls, if they're transparent and do that, it makes all the difference in the world, even if it's an answer they don't want to hear. But there's been some great outreach, and I'm looking at some regional directors with my appreciation for that. Because if they don't get it from you, they call me, and I don't know, got to put that phone number. I tell them I'm a UTA guy. Go talk to the UTA folks. But thanks for communication and transparency and practical results. Makes a huge difference in our public outreach and our reputation with those taxpayers who pay our salaries. So thank you for that. And I love the snowplow drivers. They were just terrific.
Carlos, can you tell us about the free ridership for 2023? What is the status of that for UTA?
I'm sorry.
Free ridership for UTA,
Oh,
2023 for a whole year. Any update?
It's, I think, starting this week. I'm looking 12th through the 21st. Thank you, Troy.
Okay.
For the NBA game.
Yeah, so they're going to be doing it over the All-Star weekend here. This is going to be a big deal for the state of Utah. It's typically the start of the really, really busy ski season time. And we'll have all the folks coming in for the All-Star game. So it's going to be a pretty interesting time. I'll bet you downtown Salt Lake is going to be it's going to probably feel like the way the Olympics did almost 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I guess more than 20 years ago.
120,000 visitors.
Thank you for that. Let's see, next commission meetings, March 23rd and 24th is in the UDOT complex. We will be there for everybody to attend. Any other reports from the commission?
Mr. Chairman, I would say
Yes.
that is the start of our workshops.
Yes.
And so that is a fun-filled day of facts and discussions.
Numbers and all. We'll be there. Anything from the floor? Region directors, deputies? If not, again, I'm going to remind you and wish everyone happy Valentine's Day. Don't forget the date next week. With that, I would like to have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you. Have a wonderful weekend.
Do we have instructions for the next part of the day?
So the tour is going to be at noon. There are box lunches downstairs.